Greetings, Taku Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm here to bring you all yet again another Game of Thrones episode review right here on Otaku Assemble Weekly. And as always, I'm here to bring you the latest in this week's Game of Thrones episode review. And this is my review of Season 3, Episode 4, entitled, And Now His Watch Is Ended. So, general thoughts on this week's episode. Pretty good episode. I like how this week's episode offered a lot of interesting things. A lot of things came out of left field for me in this episode. And I'm not saying that they were complete surprises or that there wasn't enough evidence or there wasn't enough foreshadowing into, some of these events taking place. But what I'm saying is some of them I just really didn't expect to happen. I just really didn't. And I also thought that this episode did a good job at setting a couple of things up. Now, granted, I could be reaching with some of this stuff, but I think they did foreshadow a couple of potential things, and I think that's it for the most part. So yeah, good episode, a lot of intriguing things, a couple of surprises. And I think some worthwhile foreshadowing if, in fact, any of those things do play out. Now, let's dwell into this episode in a bit more detail. A couple of things I want to talk about this week. So the first thing I'm going to mention is the characters in which we get the title of this episode from, and that's the Night's Watch. Now, this was one of the things that I did feel like was set up previously, but it was also something that I didn't expect to happen. Now, you all will remember my thoughts on Commander Mormont in last week's review. And this week, really did bring all of those thoughts from last week's review to fruition. I mean, not only did we see Mormont die in this week's episode, but just this full-blown insurrection with the Night's Watch. Now, like I said, surprised me because I didn't expect that to happen. I really didn't. Look, if my best guess would have been that if we were going to see, just straight up anarchy and reckless abandon amongst the Night's Watch, I figured it would have been at the Wall, back at Castle Black, when either Mance or when the White Walkers showed up. And then, of course, that's when everybody's going to lose their shit. Okay, But at Craster's, before they even make it back, really didn't see that coming. But then again, like I said, it wasn't a complete surprise because they foreshadowed it based off of the comments I made in last week's episode, and then just based off of, they've been building up to it in this episode. Like all the scenes, especially with that one character whose name I can't remember, but all the comments he was making about Craster. So they slowly built up pace for it in this episode, and they were a few hints in last week's episode. So enough for us to suspect that something like that could happen, but they didn't give it away. However, you do have to remember this, and this was what made me kind of make sense of everything. Remember, who is the Night's Watch field of? Criminals. So this sort of thing is not outside the realm of possibility, and given the circumstances and the situations that they found themselves in this entire time, it was just a matter of time before the levee broke, or the wall, if you will. It was just a matter of time before the wall got breached, So, but like I said, okay, Craster getting killed, okay, could see that happening. But Commander Mormont, totally didn't see that happening. Nah, I didn't. And actually, I'm kind of sad to see him go because I really didn't want him to go out like that. I wanted him to go out in battle. I really did. Either fighting off Mance and the Wildlings or fighting off some White Walkers. But hell, even if it would have just been a fight between just him and Craster, I would have been satisfied with that. But oh well, that ends well, I guess. So all right, now who am I going to jump to next? Let's just go ahead and jump in King's Landing, because this was the episode where I felt like probably the best. Can I really say the best? Anyway, but this was one of the better. I would say this episode and episode 2 are probably the best episodes, especially with what's going on in King's Landing with the cast there. So, first off, I like Tywin and Cersei's scene, and I like how Tywin was just brutally honest with Cersei. I like how, once again, I've made comments about this character before in the past, and he keeps embodying that, how Tywin is not susceptible to his children. He's not. He knows what they're doing. He knows what their game is at all times. He cannot be conned. He cannot be bought. He cannot be bullied. His children's charm does not work on him. He has a magnificent bullshit detector, and it works. It's foolproof at this point. I think so. With his kids. Now I do think that some other characters have been able to pull the wool over Tywin's eyes. Little finger. But for the most part, he doesn't tolerate any of his kids' bullshit, and I like that he was brutally honest with Cersei. But my comments on Cersei still stands about how Marjorie is able to get under her skin. Her colors are showing so much, and now that she's said it to Tywin, it's like, I mean, hell, even Tywin was like, really? But I mean, so I really don't know what they're going to do with Cersei. I don't know what her deal is anymore, because she is just coming off as this petty hiccups, excuse me. But she is coming across as just this petty, envious old maid, really. And that's all she keeps doing. So I will say though, I like that Tyrion has decided to start, I don't want to say going against his sister, but he is trying to get down to the bottom of what happened at Blackwater. And I like that. I like how his appointment to, Keeper of Coin or whatever, pretty much treasurer. I like how that that and also the conversation between him and Shay about Sansa. I like how both those things have not deterred him or distracted him from what his goal should have been in the premiere. Right out the gate, finding out who was responsible for what happened at Blackwater. To me, that's Tyrion's only real concern right now, because that actually was an attempt on his life. That is where he was most vulnerable and where his life was in jeopardy. So all this other bullshit, I don't care about. In all honesty, I don't. But since we did bring up Sansa though, now correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be missing something. Did Tyrion ever go to Lord Varys? I don't think he did. I don't think Tyrion ever went to Lord Varys and brought to his attention what Shay told him about Baelish and Sansa. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I like how Baelish and what he's trying to do with Sansa has been picked up by another character from a completely, no, they both stem from the same source, which is Raz. They both stem from Raz, but I like how Varys and Tyrion, like, this has been brought to both of their attention independently. And once again, I also like Varys, his position in this, because why? What I just said about Tyrion. We don't need Tyrion getting distracted. We don't need him getting distracted. So even though he's gone to Varys for help about what happened at Blackwater, it seems like these two characters are still kind of working on their own agendas, which I don't mind. I have absolutely no problem with that. I like that we got some of Varys' backstory. I like that Varys has actually taken an initiative in trying to get down to the bottom of what's going on with Baelish and Sansa. My only question, though, is Varys' intentions. Because Varys is the character that I've always discussed in the past. His intentions are never clear. And he has stated that he does everything for the good of the realm, but we found out that's not necessarily true. Because when he was all up, when he was all gung-ho with Tyrion about stopping Stannis, we found out why that was. It was a little personal for Varys. So it's not always about for the good of the realm. However, I am very intrigued with the fact that who did Varys go to with the information he got? Marjorie's grandmother, who, for the record, is still one of my favorite characters. Definitely, probably my most favorite character introduced this season. But she is already one of my favorite characters in the whole fucking series. And she's only been in 2 episodes. I'm sorry. I love the woman. I love her. You can't really call it sarcastic because she is being very honest. But it's kind of like that, it's not snarky. I don't think it's snarky and it's not pretentious. But it is this sort of like kind of sidestepped, short sense of humor that is complete honesty about this. I don't know what, it's hard to describe it because I'm at a loss for words. I know what the term I'm looking for, I just can't think what it is. But I just like that demeanor about her character. I like it. Once again, like Tywin, she is no nonsense. She is no bullshit, and she tells it like it is. She tells it like she sees it. But she is smart enough to know how to say it in order not to offend anybody. And oftentimes, especially with Varys, like I just love that exchange, how she is sort of speaking to him in a condescending manner, but not to offend him. And she's not saying anything that would be offensive. She's not insulting him, but she is pointing out faults or flaws or things that most people overlook or most people take for granted. But she, legitimizes it as, okay, well, I heard this about you. You ain't really what I expected. Okay, why do you want to talk to me about this? Clearly it's for an ulterior motive. Stop bullshitting. Tell me what you want. I just love that about her character. I do. I really do. And so going back to what I was saying about her and Varys, why her? Of all the people Varys could have gone to, why her? Is it because he couldn't trust anybody else with that information? Is it because she is somewhat of a foreigner and so she plays somewhat of an immediate role, intermediate role, a mediator, if you will. But that can't be it though, because he went there with the pretenses talking about, oh well, you're friends with Sansa, or at least you seem to give a damn about her. You're intrigued with her, if nothing else. So, once again, I'm just very intrigued with how Varys is going by this. And then also, like I said, I still don't know what his intentions are. Does he care enough about Sansa to really, see to her well-being? Maybe he feels guilty for what happened to Ned, and this is the only way to make up for it. Maybe he just has a personal vendetta against Baelish and wants to see him fail. Maybe Baelish did something to him in the past that we don't know about that he's trying to get retribution for. We don't know. And that makes sense because Varys has never been the type of character to voice his intentions. Not really, no. And let's not forget that he got that damn sorcerer. So, the plot thickens. But since I did bring up Sansa though, I will say this was one of the for me, this was one of the scenes I didn't care for. To be honest, with the exception of Arya, I didn't really care for either either of the Stark pups that we saw in this episode. I didn't really care for either one of their scenes. Bran, because I didn't feel like it contributed much, and Sansa, because of how this character keeps operating. Sansa's conversation with Marjorie, and Marjorie talking about, oh, we'll marry you off to Loras. Now, first off, for Marjorie, I thought that was a pretty good idea. I thought, now see, that was one of the surprises. That completely came out of left field for me. This idea about Loras marrying Sansa. And I don't know if they mentioned that. They might have mentioned that in the premiere. I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe it didn't register with me first go around. But seeing Marjorie say it to Sansa, I was like, so is that why she's befriending Sansa? And then that immediately led to the next question. Well, what's her end game? Why? What is Marjorie trying to accomplish? Because the first thing I thought about was, wait a minute, she's not trying to, well, think about it like this. Could Marjorie, well, no, that wouldn't make any sense though. Why would Marjorie be concerned with trying to get dominion of the North if she's going to be queen of the Seven Kingdoms? That makes no fucking sense. And why would she take the risk on trying to wed off Sansa to her brother so that she could make an ally out of Robb when Robb is rebelling against her future husband? Now that don't make sense. But there is a reason for that, and it's not to benefit Sansa in any way. They aren't doing this for Sansa's benefit. No. I think there's another reason, but I can't figure out what it is. I don't know. Don't know what Marjorie's game is. I just really don't. But anyway, but going back to my thoughts on Sansa though, this is why I didn't care for that scene between Sansa and Marjorie. Because Sansa is still being written as a gullible child. So you're telling me that we are this far, we're 3 seasons into this thing, and Sansa is still taking characters' words for it. She is still, and she doesn't even know Marjorie that well. Now, I could see how Sansa could be a little bit more acceptable to Baelish, because her mom and Baelish have history. You know, she's under the impression that that Baelish is a friend of the family, because I don't think she knows about how Baelish screwed Ned. Okay, I can get that, but she doesn't know Marjorie from a hole in the ground. She doesn't know Marjorie from Eve, and for Marjorie to pretty much go up to Sansa and just tell Sansa what she wants to hear. Because we know Sansa's had a thing for Loras since fucking season 1. So for her to just tell that to Sansa and Sansa to just fall for it, it's like, oh my God, have you learned nothing? And I'm sorry, but that just reinforces all the shit I said about Sansa before. I'm expecting this girl to be smarter than she was when she got to fucking King's Landing, and when she does stupid shit like that. Whoo. Now hang on a minute though. Hang on a minute. Could it be that she trusts in Marjorie because of what happened in episode 2? You know, the idea that she was able to confide in both Marjorie and her grandmother, and there's been no repercussions from that yet. Okay, maybe, but she shouldn't have slipped up back then either. You see what I'm saying? She fucked up back then, and then she didn't have any other choice but to be honest. And so now, for her to just completely put all her faith and all her trust in Marjorie, that's setting her up to get screwed over later on down the line, man. It's like, come on. You look. She better take a lesson. She better learn a fucking lesson from her daddy. She better learn to play this motherfucking game. Because so far, she's just been playing it safe so far. You know? Playing the whole, oh, I'm faithful to Joffrey bullshit. I mean, that was the only card she really had to, well, no, I think she had other cards to play, but I'm not getting back into that discussion. But let's just say she was playing it safer than sorry, right? She wasn't taking any risk. She was playing it safe. Well, now you've already found yourself in a real peculiar situation. So I'm sorry for her to just, that's stupid. That's stupid. It really is. And once again, compared to her siblings, it really makes her stand out as kind of the ugly duckling, as the one that does not fit in. Say what you will about Jon. Jon is not the runt of that litter. When it comes to the Stark's pups, Sansa's the runt of the litter. She is the most unlike the rest of the pack. And this whole fucking time, we thought it was Arya. No, it's not. Arya wouldn't have been as fucking gullible. And we know that Robb wouldn't have, and shit. Rickon's still a kid, but Bran wouldn't have fallen for that. I mean, come on, bro. Anyway, I'm done talking about that. Really disappointed in that scene. I can't stress that enough. And I'm really disappointed in that character. Now, let me see. I know I'm running close to my time limit, but there is one character that I do want to talk about before this review's over, and that is, damn, how did I forget his name? The Greyjoy Boy. What is his first name? God damn. Oh my God, I am so embarrassed. What is the boy's name? I know the actor's name. But, Theon. There we go. Theon. Okay. This is going to sound really weird, especially if you go back and watch my Season 2 reviews, all my thoughts on Theon. But this week, that scene with Theon, I did not think that at this point in time in the series, the character that I would identify with the most is Theon. And that was another surprise. Did not expect that. And let me tell you what I mean. I'm not talking about a character that I admire, like Ned, or a character that I sympathize with, like Jon or Daenerys. I'm not just talking about characters I root for, like Robb and, the rest of the Starks, or hell, even Renly before he kicked the bucket. That's not the characters I'm talking about. I'm talking about a character that I can personally identify with. A character whose struggle I've gone through in some form or fashion before, and I can relate to them. Theon, surprisingly, is that character. With Theon and his comments talking about his whole story arc, from Ward to living in Winterfell, to fighting alongside Robb, to going back to Pike, to leaving Pike, going Winterfell, all that shit. The way Theon was pretty much spilling his guts about it, and the line that fucking killed me when he said, I did all of this for my father. Yeah, my father. My real father lost his head in King's Landing. And I was like, whoa. So what we got from Theon, in all honesty, Theon, his character arc, just got right here. We are at that point. We went from here, we're here. We are right here, right before the very fucking peak. We are right here. And so, yeah, just all of that, Theon, like, learning from his mistakes, being regretful for what he did, wanting to make amends for it, and also, and the most important thing, Theon finally acknowledging that no matter what, he has already gone too far as the family in which he thought he would have fitted in. But he always felt like an outsider, and then when he thought to go home with his own people, only to be outcast then, and then finally realize, it was like, you know what, I was better off in the North, because those were the people that actually gave two shits about me in the end. I mean, look, when you're talking about character progression, can you really ask for anything more? Theon is it. So yeah, and to be honest, I don't know what all, where all they're gonna take Theon's story from here on out. I'm convinced now that Theon is being, that he is being a captive of his own people, because when the first time we saw Theon in chains, there was someone in that room that had the Greyjoy armor on, but I always assumed that that was one of Theon's crew, and whoever Theon was being captive by, you know, those were the people that his crew sold him out to. So when I saw the guy in the armor, I didn't immediately assume that Theon was back in Pike. I figured, oh, wherever he is, that's one of his men that sold him out. But now I'm almost convinced that Theon, if he isn't in Pike, he's at least in one of their territories. You know, he's somewhere that the Greyjoys have dominion over. And I'm starting to think that the reason why Theon is in this predicament, and I really hope this isn't the case, but I think it might have something to do with Balin punishing Theon for disobeying orders, or, and this is what I really hope it's not, I hope Balin isn't on no bullshit paranoia where he thinks Theon tried to betray him or sell him out or rebel against him. I really hope it's nothing like that, because I'm sorry, there is nothing that suggests that course of action from Theon's part. So like, if this really is that, I'm like, dude, kill yourself, because no, that's just really not fair. And there's nothing that suggests that fucking Theon was trying to go against his own family. No, if that was the case, he would have fucking stayed with Robb. And my final thoughts on this episode are talking about Dany, just briefly. And the thing is, what happened with Dany, like I said, well, I don't know if I mentioned this in my review last week, and I think I might have hinted to this. I knew that Dany was going to find a way around giving away her dragon. I knew that. I knew she was going to find a way to keep her dragon and get the army, because Dany's become pretty fucking good at that, you know. So I figured we were going to get something like that. What surprised me was the fact that Dany knew what was going on the entire time. And that, like I said, it was the result didn't surprise me, you know, because like I said, I figured that. But the fact that she knew the entire time, that's what got me. The fact that, and I didn't even know what language they were speaking. I didn't even know that was Valyrian. If I would have known that, I would have pieced that together myself, but I didn't. Anyway, and then, dude, even Jorah and fucking Berenstain, even they didn't know, and like, she shocked everybody. So yeah, so I was surprised that Dany kept that to herself the entire time. Like I said, it was awesome, but yeah, she knew the whole time and didn't tell anybody. I thought that was actually pretty cool. So yeah, so that's gonna do it for this week's episode review. I want to thank you all for joining me again this week. Coming up tomorrow night, my Vikings episode review will be posted, and pretty much with that being said, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief. I'm signing off, and until next time, peace.